property management business really gave me like what I would consider like a crash course on things that can go wrong in a property, how to deal with maybe code violations, things of that nature. I believe that that's my background helps me to develop better customer skills, better awareness when I take buyers to properties. It helps me to create an environment for my sellers, which will give them a better perspective on what the market may think of their house.
Welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and we're talking about real estate again and how you can become a better agent, better team leader, better overall person, and have a better life in the real estate business. So that's what I'm all about, and that's what this show is all about. So if that's what you're looking for, you're in the right place. So I've got lots to share from my experience over the last 20 years, but also from guests we also bring on the show. And today's guest is actually very similar, been in the business 20 years as well. So if you're brand new in the business and wondering, man, how does it take to get to become a veteran in the business for 20 years? Well, you can hear from someone else's opinion, not just my own. Today, I've got Ann Yust. She's also from Wisconsin and has a very interesting background, but also has done some property management and also on the sales side of things as well. But yeah, I'll without further ado, I'll let Ann share a little bit more about your background for our listeners today, and anything else you think would be interesting for them to know about you and kind of what led you here today.
Yeah, like you said, I've been in the business for 20 years. Prior to that, I did retail, hospitality, and was like the office manager for other small businesses that, like a tree service. I did help run an Airbnb for a while, for about 3 years. And, I was in like your traditional sales, things like that. I think all of those skills that I obtained through that time frame has kind of led me to be a smarter agent. The property management business really gave me like what I would consider like a crash course on things that can go wrong in a property, how to deal with maybe code violations, things of that nature. And so I believe that that's my background helps me to develop better customer skills, better awareness when I take buyers to properties. It helps me to create an environment for my sellers, which will give them a better perspective on what the market may think of their house, what things that they can do to their house to make it more marketable, and also what expenditures, if they're thinking of doing some kind of remodeling before they put it on the market, that would better net their return.
Yeah, for sure. We've touched on a number of things that I think are super interesting, right? I think that, people come into this business from lots of different backgrounds. And, I had biology undergrad was my degree, and now I'm selling real estate. So, of course, biology, I didn't go down that path. I thought I was going to be a high school science teacher for a while, changed my
Mhm.
mind, and that led me to the real estate business. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's fine, but interesting how whether it's retail, hospitality, or it could be a lot of different backgrounds. I think you develop those skills of in those areas. I think what's important too is just some of those probably customer service skills that you develop along the way of helping people and finding whether it's retail or hospitality. I was also waited tables. I think that just being a
Mhm.
bartender or waitress or waiter, that those customer service skills are simple but can be super helpful, I think, in the real estate business as you're helping clients as well, because it's so much, it's a people business at the end of the day. So
It is, yes.
yeah, for sure. So it's also interesting too. I mean, I know of a lot of other agents that sometimes get started in the property management area before going into sales. And I think, I don't know, I think for a lot of people, maybe that could be a good pathway to start out. Like if you're not completely sure if like a commission-based sales agent is the right route to go.
Mhm.
I know that at least in our area, there's a lot of different property management companies that would pay more of like a W-2 type of salary or hourly wage or something like that, where you're still a licensed agent, but you're maybe not, and you're still involved in the property and the real estate and that kind of thing, but it's a little bit different type of role and that kind of thing in the property management department, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
think that, there's different ways to be in property management. I mean, you can certainly, if you're a broker, have your own. You can work for an organization that is the actual physical property manager, and you just run interference.
Hmm.
You could be the admin, you could be like helping with coordinating maintenance, things of that nature. And I think that either way you end up with what I would call the same skills. Learning HUD rules like firsthand, 100% is I think essential because a lot of our new buyers are running FHA, VA, things like that, and you learn, especially in the property management business, the housing rules, what's considered federal guidelines, like 100%. Like you can look at those on paper and be like, yeah, but I mean, to know that a railing has to be put in if it's more than two steps and what the proper height of that is. All first floor need to have functioning screens, things of those natures that when you have an FHA buyer, that's not, necessarily sometimes that people actually like go around with that so that their buyer can know kind of what to expect. And I have to tell you, like customer service wise, you go from one end to the other when it comes to property management. You can have the very cranky, troublesome tenant who is always giving you grief one way or the other, disputes between tenants. He parks his car in my driveway, that kind of thing, to,
Yeah, you're running interference there on the property management side, right?
yeah,
You're the
to,
you're the one
I-
dealing with those calls and the complaints and everything
right,
else, or if you got to
right.
tow cars or vehicles. So even if you own the property and you're managing it yourself and renting it out, you might have to deal with those. Or if you're just an agent and working for, managing the property, you're going to definitely get
Mhm.
those calls. So
Yeah, there's all walks of life there, all
yeah.
kinds of challenges. And so as you go through each one of those, they add what I would consider to your experience to be able to do really good in sales, whether it's the buyer seller side of things.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I mean, I remember I owned a condo at one time that I fixed it up and then I decided to keep it as a rental. I learned a little bit about the eviction process.
Oh
And,
yeah.
previously I'd never had to evict anybody, but, suddenly, you think this is going to be a great investment and they're going to pay the rent and then I'm going to make all this money and it's going to be great. Well, then the rent stops
Mhm.
coming and now you got to do something about it, go through
Yeah,
the
that,
eviction process and try to kick them out and all this stuff, and
oh
it's a
yeah,
big
not the crash
challenge.
course.
Yeah. Yep.
It
So
definitely is a crash course.
it
In my time, I went from somebody who makes a lot of money who just kind of lost their job
yeah,
and don't tell you. On the flip side, somebody who makes a lot of money lost their job and are like, look, I got to get out.
sure.
I can't afford this anymore. They're the proactive one,
Yeah.
all the way to what I would consider your professional tenants
Mhm.
who
Sure.
go. It's a little bit easier to track them now, but they go from place to place and they use the system that's available to them that's supposed to kind of help, like, get the bad landlords, but they use it to their advantage so that they don't have to pay rent to squatters, which I had two of them this week.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. So what's working well for you, Anne? You've been in this business a long time, and I think our listeners tune into the show and they really want to hear what's working well for people, right? Like if I'm looking to grow my business, I want to launch things, I want to make go from 50,000 to 100,000, 100,000 to 200,000 or more. I don't know what you made last year, and feel free
Mhm.
to share whatever you're comfortable with in terms of numbers or metrics. But I think, what have you noticed that really moves the needle in your business in terms of over the last 20 years, whatever it might be, that really, what were those key points in your life and your career that really moved the needle and really launched your business to make it successful? Is there anything that comes to mind for you?
One thing is for sure, it is branding. Um,
Branding?
branding.
And what?
When I talk about branding, I mean like your company logo on your jacket, any jacket that you have. Like
Yeah.
I have that on every single jacket I own.
It's funny you mention that. Normally I have a branded shirt on and I don't today. So
Yeah, yeah. During the
yeah.
summertime, that's easier. You can do something like that. I have a couple t-shirts that kind of create a little bit of humor with, some of the real estate jokes about either an inspection or, something like that. So that when people see that, they kind of chuckle a little and it starts the conversation.
Right.
Okay. Um,
So it's simple, right? It's wearing branded clothing. We even have a lot of times I know we have name tags that we get, right? And maybe it's as
mhm,
simple as just wearing your name tag on your
right,
other clothing if it's not embroidered or something like that. But even a clever t-shirt or something interesting about real estate, because ultimately
right.
it comes down to
Yeah. And,
conversations.
step out.
How can you spark
Right.
the conversation that you're
Yes,
in real estate? Is that
exactly.
right?
Yes, it is. And I tend to step out of the comfort zone. I don't have a name tag. I like to introduce myself because that really starts a conversation. I like to start a conversation, like say, in the grocery line. And you wouldn't think that being in the grocery line would be a spot that you could generate that. But the truth is that you can, because when you have a joyful conversation with somebody in front of you and back of you, maybe the cashier, okay, they remember you. And you can introduce yourself. I'm Ann, by the way. I work for Homestead Realty, stuff like that. That's a what I would consider like the end. In the beginning, I might say I'm Ann, but of course they can see my brand.
Sure.
And I'll make some kind of comical comment about whatever they had said or whatever I can start off the conversation with, and sometimes it can be the weather. Sometimes it can be the weather, and then you can talk, and that opens up people to actually like talk about some things further. And then, what you can do what I call the clincher. And I'm Ann, by the way. I am a licensed real estate agent. It's a dog eat dog world out there. So you have to learn the art of conversation. You have to be willing to put yourself in a position every single time you meet someone to kind of wrap them up into your world. Okay.
Hmm.
And you do that by starting to be in their world.
Hmm.
Um, being a good listener is, I think, one of the best skills in the world. One of the best skills in the world.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a good skill and it's important to hone that skill over time. And it's kind of a timeless thing. Like I don't think that's going away anytime soon. So, work on your communication skills and it
Right.
reminds me of something I heard a long time ago actually of a sales trainer that was highly successful. He's booked thousands of appointments. I mean, he's super highly successful. And I remember he
Mhm.
said something about let's see, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, if you want them to be interested in you, you first have to become interested in them.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
before they're going to care that you're in real estate, what is it that you know about them? What is about their world, about what's
Mhm.
happening in their life
Mhm.
and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so just getting curious about other people and whether it is in the grocery store or whether it is in, out with your family at a, say, a family function or event, or
Mhm.
even if your kids are into sports or other activities, right? What is it that you can talk to people about and connect with them? And then ultimately, it always comes up, I feel like, and I've experienced this as well, right? People are like, so what are you into? And what kind of things do you like to do? And as soon as that happens, boom, that's like the permission slip to be like, oh, by the way, yeah, I do real estate. And yeah, I'm on this team over in Madison. And
Mhm.
um, been doing
Mhm.
this for a long time and blah blah blah, and it'll just lead to different conversations. And I think what's key about it too is if you're nervous about sharing that, like, I don't think you need to lead with that, right? Lead with curiosity, lead with questions, and then that door will automatically open up, and
Right.
eventually they will be curious about you.
Right.
And if to me, that's how it should work, right? Like, it's like feel people want to hear be listened to, right? You want to grow your business, and that makes sense. But like, if you're just the person shouting out, hey, I'm in real estate, hey, I'm in real estate, but
Yeah, no. I
yeah,
don't think that works. I think people are put off because
yeah,
maybe they're not ready. They think they're not ready to buy a house.
yeah.
They are maybe not ready to sell, but at the same time, you want to be able to, at least what put your hat in the ring for them to possibly think about you later. For my social media, I feel like you have to kind of, I don't know, get your own niche, okay? Because everybody out there is posting the same things as far as, these are the things you need to do,
And
before
what would you say
getting
is your
married.
niche, if you had
Mhm.
to put it out there? And what is it that you do that's unique and different? And what's your niche?
I do a lot of stuff about myself, first of all, how I show my prize roses, which I love so much. They're not prized, but they're very beautiful, and I love to
Like
groom
rose
them.
gardens around your house, you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so I talk about my joy of doing a yard,
Mm-hmm.
and if you want to be a good homeowner, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
You need to know how to pull weeds. I'm sorry, it happens in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have to either be able to afford to pay someone to do it, or you have to learn it. And a lot of renters who are looking to buy don't have a clue. Don't have a clue as to what they have to do with their property, what they have to look out for, things of that nature. I talk about landlord tenant law. It's something of my passion because long, long time ago in a land far away, I was a renter and I didn't know about landlord tenant law. And I was taken by a few of them. And then once I got with my real estate attorney or my real estate agent, who unfortunately passed away last year, she was champion. She knew so much. And when I bought my house, it was all paper. It wasn't electronic signature, things like that. But I met with her after that,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Oh, so you're all moved in, with your apartment." And then over lunch, and then I told her like what the landlord basically had done to me upon leaving. And she's like, "Well, that's against the law. They can't do that to you." And I was like, "What?" Um, that wasn't also an asset to me when I became property management. I both educated people on landlord tenant law and I ruled by landlord tenant law. And you have a lot of private people who own their property that, of course, can do their own advertising and they run their own stuff, but they know the ignorance. And so they just can pick and choose what they'd like to do, and people are at a loss. So on my TikTok, I talk about that a lot. On my Facebook page and Instagram, I'll throw some goofy pictures of like, the real estate comics in there every once in a while, so that they're identifying with me first. Because if people connect with you, it's a natural thing for them to think about you as the first person that they want to contact. I
Yeah.
talk about my mentoring program. Some people, they're, in today's market, depending on what financial bracket they're in, it's different how you talk to them, how you market them. And for some people, they're absolutely like panicked about whether they should do it or not, whether they're not ready, things of that nature. And so a lot of those people actually need mentoring. They need you to talk to them, they need you to guide them, they need you to put them with the right people if they have credit issues, things like that, because you need to show them that, like, if this is your goal, if this is your end game, uh, I will get you there. And it doesn't matter how long. I talk about generational wealth because real estate truly is generational wealth. And for a lot of the lower income community, they think it's just never in their.
And what market are you in again? Remind me.
I am Milwaukee, Racine, Kenosha County.
Okay, Milwaukee,
So
Racine,
I'm a little
Kenosha.
southeast Wisconsin.
That's
I'll
right.
travel like about an hour anywhere within the vicinity of where I live.
Got it.
So, um, you
For
know,
sure.
yeah.
Well, we've touched on, I mean, a lot of stuff today. So yeah, I mean, those people that are just renters, they need help and they need help becoming first-time buyers. And so knowing
Mhm.
about some of those first-time buyer laws and FHA rules, VA rules,
Mhm.
those are
Mhm.
certainly important. I like what we talked about too, right? Finding a niche. So whatever your niche could be, right?
Mhm.
Finding what you're passionate about and excited about, whether that is property management or in your case, right? It was more landscaping and sharing that with people.
Yep.
The importance of communication skills, I think, is super important, right? And branding, even wearing branded clothing and having something that can spark a conversation or some other clever shirt or t-shirt or sometimes even a clever
Mhm.
hat. I think I have a
Yeah.
sticker on my laptop, right? It says, talking to me about real estate or something. So,
Right, right.
yeah, I mean, whatever it could be. But I think, all those things are important. But here's after tried and true principles, after 20 years in the business, I've done a lot of those things that you're talking about, and I've done them in my business as well. And I think just surrounding yourself with all of those things, going all in and just committing to the business and trying to grow it and facilitate those conversations, I think is going to be absolutely a critical thing to do. The other thing I know you mentioned, I know we didn't really talk much about it, but your husband is a remodeling contractor or something you
Mhm.
said.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think having a spouse who's also involved in some ways in it tangentially in a real estate business, right? Like
Right.
that can be
Yeah.
a very good thing in your life, right? Like whether your spouse or significant other is also involved with you in the business, I think that could be a good way
Mhm.
to get going as well. So
Right. Right.
we've touched on lots of great stuff today. Ann, is there anything else that comes to mind that you think our listeners might want to hear about or know about before we sign off today?
I I think the most important thing is to understand that your client comes from all walks of life.
Yeah.
A lot of people will see agents who are like doing the 450, $650,000 houses. They understand that kind of commission. Their end game obviously is to make money. We're not all in this for charity, but
Yeah, we all want to try to build a profitable business, right?
right,
That's what we're all
right.
about.
But that
Absolutely.
profitable business
Yeah.
can come from many places. And you can't rule out anyone because just because of someone's maybe physical appearance, that doesn't mean they don't have money to be able to buy,
Yeah, for sure.
you know.
No, well, I appreciate that as well. So, yeah, people come from all walks of life, all backgrounds, and just,
Mm.
treat people the same and just be open-minded and regardless of their price point or wherever else, obviously we have fair housing laws we got to follow as well. So keep that in mind as you're out there trying to build your
Yeah.
business. So.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
Ann, I really appreciate you coming on our show, and I appreciate you sharing some nuggets with our listeners. And so, if you enjoyed this, then tune in next time to other episodes as we interview other thought leaders and top agents throughout the area. And I'll share more of my real-time experience, also in the business, and happy to help you become a better real estate agent on the Better Agent Podcast. Again, I'm Josh Lavik, and Yost, thank you much for joining me today. Thanks for tuning in to the Better Agent Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, Q&A sessions, and sneak peeks into our 21-day challenge. To get full access of our show notes and more details on the 21-day challenge, go to abetterrealestateexperience.com. Keep striving for greatness, and I'll see you on the next episode.